It's time for Twig. This week in Google, Jeff and Gina join us along with Seth Ladd, developer advocate at Google. He's going to talk about the new Chrome 10 and HTML5. Plus, there's malware on Android and a whole lot more. This week in Google, coming up next.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for This Week in Google is provided by Cachefly. Cachefly.com. This is Twig, This Week in Google, episode 85, recorded March 9th, 2011. That's so Scoble. This Week in Google is brought to you by Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration and management that's simple. For 10% off your new domain, go to twig.hover.com. It's time for Twig, This Week in Google and the cloud. You know, we cover Facebook and Twitter as well as Google. We just call it Twig because then people know what they're going to get, and Google's such a good brand name. And if we did This Week at Facebook, it would be Twiff, and nobody wants to say that. Joining us right now from San Diego, California, and her home, Gina Trapani, or her office, I'm not sure which. Hi, Gina.
Hello.
You heard from her bicycle lab?
From my bicycle lab, exactly. How's it going?
Going great. Somebody just told me Glee's been back for 3 weeks, and I didn't even know.
What? No, there's a new episode last night, but the week before that there wasn't one.
Oh, but I think I didn't know that they restarted, so I think I have at least a couple.
Yeah, and you've got a Gwyneth episode to watch. So that's very exciting.
This Week in Glee. I'm sorry. Did I say it was This Week in Google? It's This Week in Glee.
Of course.
Of course. Jeff Jarvis is also here. Man, he's sharp looking today. Look at that. You look like an undertaker. But you're going to interview.
Hey.
You're going to interview the fashion forward Marissa Meyer in about an hour.
I have my Prada tie on.
Ah.
I'm sorry, I'm not in New York for that.
Barney's warehouse sale. Cheap.
And Tim Armstrong together on the same stage?
Yep.
Wow. Tim Armstrong, CEO of the new CEO of AOL.
We get to talk about great things like the AOL way and Ariana's way and quality and content and fun stuff.
Can people watch this event?
Yes, they can. I gave you the URL. Now I got to figure out where the heck
I have it here somewhere. This is the inauguration of your new Tau. What's it called?
Tau Night Center.
Tau Night Media.
So if you go to dubs.journalism.cuny.edu/live. Again, journalism.cuny.edu/live.
Good.
Nice.
You can watch. This is the inauguration.
Starting at 7 ET.
Yeah. This is the inauguration of the this Center for Entrepreneurial Journalism.
Not an oxymoron, damn it.
What is it?
It's journalists making their own jobs and making journalism sustainable and
you mean like TWiT?
Yeah, exactly. Like
Right, like what you do, Leo.
Oh, like this.
Exactly. In fact, that reminds me, Leo, I've got to have you talk to the class.
I'd love to.
In your copious free time, we'll get you in on
So
site.
you do a class on entrepreneurial journalism.
We now have a whole certificate program where we have students here that are full-time for a semester just on this topic.
I bet you there are a number of working journalists who want to go to this and take
That's
this.
what we have now. We have returning professionals, read unemployed.
Yeah.
So we have 11 students from all over, Sri Lanka, Denmark, Rwanda, and Brooklyn.
I remember when I talked a couple of years ago to the Online News Association, how interested, currently working, sometimes really big name currently working journalists were in this subject because A, people feel like newspapers are failing, and B, because they want to control their own stuff. That's what started me. It wasn't the lack of work. It was I wanted to control it.
Yeah.
And especially in our beat because frankly, we're so geeky and nerdy that no mainstream media enterprise wants anything to do with the kind of content that we do here. Speaking of which, let's talk about HTML5. Also joining us, Seth Ladd. He is a developer advocate at Google. And Gina, why don't you introduce Seth since you were the one who discovered him?
I get the discovery fee.
Yeah.
Seth did a great tech talk at an event here in San Diego called Refresh about Chrome and HTML5, and it was a great presentation. And like I said, I ambushed him right afterwards and recruited him to be on Twig so that we could ask him questions about Chrome. And actually, this is perfect timing because Chrome 10 dropped today. So I thought maybe Seth could tell us a little bit about, I use Chrome. I love it. And one of the things I love about it is that it just sort of updates without me having to do much. Like it just tells me like, hey, you haven't restarted in a while. Like if you do, you'll get an update. And then
I love that.
I don't even think about it, which I love, But maybe Seth, you can tell us a little bit about the Chrome 10 release.
Yeah, sure. So the auto updating feature, I mean, when it's a browser for the web and the web doesn't have long-standing releases. Anytime you just save a new page to the web, it's automatically available to everyone. We wanted to take that model of essentially instantaneous distribution all the way down even to Chrome. So, we're going to try to keep pushing this as fast as we can get and just essentially eliminate the version numbers. And if we can do that, that's just fantastic.
Yeah, version numbers are not a human thing any more than URLs are a human thing.
Exactly, especially with Chrome, right? Because we update all the time. It's beginning to lose meaning, and we just really like that because it just gets the latest and greatest to end users, like you said, without even thinking about it. You just restart, and it's just magically there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go into Chrome's About box to see if I had the latest version, and I did, and I hadn't done anything to get it. I just said, oh, look, Chrome 10 got released. And it seems like every Chrome release is much faster, seems to be one of the marquee features.
Well, definitely. With Chrome, our mantra is speed, stability, and security. And so especially with Chrome 10, we're pushing out Crankshaft, which is our next iteration with the V8 JavaScript engine. So see some really significant speed improvements. So, yeah, we hope to continue that trend.
Chrome is based on WebKit. How much of this is WebKit getting updated? How much of it is separate? Is Chrome work? How much from Google goes back into WebKit, which is an open source project?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're all committers here to WebKit. We play nicely there, and we definitely push there. We work out of the WebKit tree very often, and so we want to keep that very up to date with what we're doing. Certainly, some aspects are not WebKit, like the V8 engine, but a lot of the HTML5 functionality, all that just flows right into WebKit.
So Crankshaft is a Google-specific feature. It's not going to be returned.
Currently, that's tied to the V8 JavaScript engine.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. So you have a great site, by the way, for HTML, an HTML5 advocacy site called HTML5 Rocks. This is a Google-sponsored site.
Yeah, but we're actually trying to get that out and not be really browser or Google centric at all. We post articles from outside resources, people that have done good work for us and just for the web, and we disclose which features work across different browsers. And so our main intention there is just to make sure that great HTML5 resources are out there for everyone, because that's Chrome's technology toolkit, right? Every platform has an API, and Chrome's platform API at this very foundation, at its core, is HTML5. And that, of course, is a fabric of the web. And so even the resources we put out there is all just about pushing the web forward across all different browsers, of course, including Chrome.
Got to ask you about video.
Yes.
The video bracket tag. Mm-hmm. And this is all about HTML5. The decision Google made to not support H.264, but to support
WebM,
which Google bought and is open sourcing.
That's it's open source now, and really the way I like to look at that decision is to the normal web developer, that is the everyday web developer. This actually changes nothing. To get coverage with your video codecs, you're going to still need to encode to H.264 and WebM. So really, I mean, the impact to the web developer is minimum to none. And really, a lot of people use white-labeled video hosting services or branded ones like Vimeo or YouTube anyway, and they take care of the encodings, the social experience, the sharing, the embedding, and all that. So really, in the end of the day, this really doesn't change anything for a web developer.
It just changes kind of what is official under the video tag in HTML5, right?
Well, certainly, we hope that that the community eventually adopts an open source, high quality video codec, and we believe WebM to be that option. And so certainly we want to keep promoting that as the go-to option for video on the web.
Yeah. And that's the option that Chrome supports even if you don't put any plugins in.
Absolutely. WebM comes built right in with Chrome.
Although
So
Flash comes with Chrome right now.
Absolutely.
Are we going to see that stop? Is that going to end?
No, I don't think so. We're really pragmatic about that. I mean, we're bullish about HTML5. We definitely think this is the future of the web for numerous reasons. But in the end of the day, I mean, you have to look at what's on the web today. And a lot of that is great Flash content. And so it behooves us to ensure our users have a great experience. And so we build that Flash plugin right into Chrome. So we can also auto-update Flash for you, which is huge as well, because just like any other software, you want to make sure it's up to date with the latest. And so it's just one less thing users have to worry about for just a great kind of smooth web experience. And of course, that includes Flash.
You also sandbox it.
Part of Chrome 10.
Yes, that is a very exciting feature.
Yeah.
Adobe, of course, announced its flashed HTML5 converter. Does that exist out there?
It is out there today. I believe my team's taking a look at it now. I think it comes with a lot of caveats, but we definitely think this is really exciting for web developers. Something that Adobe does very well, of course, is tooling support. And so we hope they continue to support HTML5 in the web going forward. And so this is a great first step.
They do not. It's very specific. They do not support video. So they avoid that whole H.264 WebM Flash nexus. They just say, no, this isn't going to do video. But it is a lot of SVG support. SVG is HTML5's way of doing kind of animation. Is that right?
Well, SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. So that's a way to actually embed graphics like circles, rectangles, curves directly into your HTML page, right alongside your head tags and title tags and all that. It's interesting to compare that against another technology a lot of developers are familiar with, which is Canvas, which is your 2D bitmap drawing surface. So developers really have two options. They can work with high-level kind of blocks and circles right in their HTML page, or they can just draw bits to a surface, and a lot of animation work is actually happening there as well in Canvas.
I get it.
When you look at Chrome and the Chrome Web Store and all the capabilities that you get with HTML5, animation and graphics and offline use, Chrome really becomes a viable platform for releasing a desktop application. Like I built a command line task manager and an Android app, and we're having this open source. We're having this discussion on the mailing list. Like, hey, we want a desktop GUI for this. So what are some ways that we can build that? So the first one they came up with was Adobe Air, right? Because you want to write it once and have it run anywhere. So it was like, okay, Adobe Air, that can write. We can write that one way, and I'll run it every platform. And then immediately somebody said, why not a Chrome app? And this is an app, I don't want to do any hosting. I want this to be like, all the data stored in Dropbox, and I just want this to be offline, in the browser, and then communicate with Dropbox and have it all done in HTML5. Is that
Absolutely.
and that is possible at this point, right? Like given the Chrome Web Store, you can package a web app into a desktop, it's files that get saved on your desktop, and which can do offline storage and maybe do some API calls to cloud sources, but not necessarily be a real website, right?
Sure. So for those who don't know, Chrome Web Store is an open marketplace for great web apps and games. And it's a consumer-facing web store built right into Chrome. So you can find, utility, productivity, entertainment, news, and, of course, games. There's two ways to build apps for the Chrome Web Store. One is your traditional hosted web app, which is, like you're saying, you put it on a web server, it has a URL, anyone can get to it. That's the very traditional one we're all familiar with. And then there's a second option, which is you're talking about, which is what we call a packaged app. A packaged app is a self-contained HTML5 app that you can just fully upload to the Chrome Web Store. When someone installs it, they download that entire package, they run it locally, and you're right, no web servers involved. So in that model, it's a lot closer to a traditional software model, which is, you send down all the bits and you just run it locally.
But there is a limit to the size of that.
Right. I think that's a leftover from the extension days. So right now the size limit is 10 megs, but we heard a lot of strong feedback from our partners saying, we need more. And so we're definitely looking at addressing that very soon.
It's interesting. I just installed on camera Super Mario Brothers, thinking that might be a package. It's not. It's a web page, and I know because I'm getting an ad for a pregnancy test. right now. So,
well, you know, it's interesting when you install stuff from the Chrome Web Store. When I first looked at it, sort of as a tech reviewer, I thought this doesn't look too different than just sort of like glorified bookmarks. But actually, it's much different when you think about offline apps. It is a full-on app store.
So
like,
this is a Flash.
App Store,
this is a
Android
Flash
market.
game. Yeah, interesting.
Seth, I have to ask you the question that I'm sure that everyone asks you, which is about Android and Chrome and how these two products are becoming platforms for app distribution and whether or not they compete with one another and how the teams interact at Google and how there are both. And is Chrome ever going to run fully, you know, on Android?
Certainly. So I think the best way to look at that right now is that Chrome is a great experience for your desktop, laptops, and netbooks, things with keyboards. And Android's a great experience for smaller form factor devices without keyboards. And right now, that's, I think, how the teams are looking at it. Things happen very organically. But for now, that's definitely, you know, we're building an ecosystem for the web and platforms with keyboards. They're building an ecosystem for mobile. And of course, they have a browser on there as well. And so a lot of this HTML5 capability works on Android as well. And that's oftentimes how we talk about it to our partners. We say, you know, build with HTML5. That's how you get across all these form factors, tablets, TVs even, of course, desktops, laptops, netbooks, phones. Across the board, HTML5 is probably the most ubiquitous technology toolkit out there. Hopefully
and
that
it lets
helps.
you play Centipede.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a really amazing Centipede. I don't know if it's Flash or if it's in the web store. So, but I mean that's pretty impressive. That now is the heart of the Android browser the same? I mean, is the JavaScript rendering engine the same and all that?
Yeah. So absolutely, great point.
It's just
the
UI
Android,
you were talking about that's different.
Yeah, the Android browser is WebKit based, and we brought over a version of V8 as well. And so they do have a common ancestry, absolutely.
Okay. So we'll get advances in Chrome will kind of migrate to Android.
Yeah, via the WebKit route. Definitely.
Right. All right.
It's interesting. On Google TV, the browser is called Chrome, but on every other Android build I've seen, it's just browser. You know, so I wondered about whether or not there's a full kind of Chrome build on its way to Android.
Yeah, and that's because the Google TV guys use Chrome. They have version 5 on there now, and they'll be updating that later. The Android guys just use a WebKit version of their browser, so it's a different browser.
Okay. Interesting.
Seth, the thing I can't wait for is offline reading of Gmail and such to bring back the things that we lost. When is that going to happen?
Well, you and me both are waiting for that. So that message is heard loud and clear. Absolutely. But, you know, to Gina's point as well, I mean, I think, you know, we had a lot of offline functionality with the product we maintained and launched a couple of years ago, which was called Google Gears, which was a plug-in to browsers that brought a lot of this forward-thinking technology. And even some of that has rolled up now into HTML5. We've now deprecated Google Gears, and we will support HTML5 going forward. And so you'll see, you know, better functionality, taking advantage of more of the platform going forward via HTML5. And that, of course, includes offline. Speaking of offline, there's just actually a wide array of options giving developers really great choice. Something called local storage, something called IndexedDB, and then, of course, we have a sandboxed virtualized file system in HTML5 as well. So, you know, developers can now start building real, for instance, games or photo editing apps where you can store large objects actually into a virtualized sandbox file system via the browser. So bringing these kind of strong offline capabilities is a big part of HTML5.
Yeah, that's really cool. That makes me really want to build a GUI for my app in Chrome versus anywhere else. It's really kind of, you know, becomes the kind of right once run anywhere online offline dream.
We're definitely working
nice.
hard to make that reality.
And yet I get scared when you say build it in Chrome instead of anywhere else, because isn't the web really supposed to be about completely cross-platform capabilities?
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, so you can go either way. You can go with the hosted version where you're communicating with a web server, and any browser can do that. But it's that offline bit that Chrome offers that's really.
But is that going to be unique to Chrome, or is that HTML5? Firefox will also have it.
That's a great point. Yeah, that comes with Firefox 4, and more modern browsers will bring along these technologies as well. So I think you build for the best experience for your users, absolutely. And right now, that's the modern browsers. Chrome just seems to be leading that because we have this very frequent automatic update. But as other browsers like Firefox 4 come online, you just broaden your reach, and yet get to deliver a great experience.
HTML5 Rocks, your website, it seems to be aimed at developers particularly, as opposed to end users. You start by getting developers to write for it.
Definitely. We have some really great demo sites out there that appeal more to the eye candy end users.
Right.
But right now, most of our efforts and outreach is absolutely centered around developers, web engineers, web programmers, to get them excited and realize this is a viable option today. I mean, to build.
This is great. I clicked the playground and I get an IDE, a full IDE with debugger.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's intention. That the developer goes, whoa, cool.
That's pretty sweet.
Yes. When you think about the cloud, right, and what Gina's talking about, putting everything into Dropbox, just running in the client, this is a big deal for us. So you might have heard Cloud9 IDE is an option today that just came out of, I think, beta, as a full IDE running in the cloud. And this cloud thinking becomes more and more important as you have cloud-connected netbooks like Chrome OS, which only runs Chrome. So of course you need everything, even your development environment, in the cloud. So these things are coming true.
That was having my IDE, having my development environment in the cloud was the one thing that kept me from using I have a CR48, and it's something that I wasn't able to use, day to day, because I code day to day. So that's really cool. I hadn't heard of Cloud9IDE.com. This just got released, I guess.
It's also available in the web store, and you can find it via searching. So the other people, I'm sure, will come out with Cloud IDEs. It's the logical next step.
Yeah, no doubt, and it integrates with GitHub, which is exciting.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I had to. Speaking of the CR48, the Chrome OS. I mean, does your team also work with Chrome OS? Or are those separate teams at Google? And how do updates roll out to Chrome OS? Those are different releases, right?
Chrome OS is a separate product, but the best way to think about it is it's Chrome with a paper-thin Linux bootstrap layer. And so, yes, it's a separate product because it's built to run directly on netbooks, but the advice we give to our partners and developers is just build for Chrome, and you'll be successful on desktop, laptop, and now netbooks.
And presumably compatible with other modern browsers as they come out. You're not doing Chrome-specific extensions.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Absolutely, yeah. When I say build for Chrome, I mean that's how you hit Chrome OS, or that's the way you think about Chrome OS.
You build for Chrome, got it.
Yeah, which is, modern HTML5 app.
Right,
absolutely.
Right. Which is exciting because it means the universe for the CR48 and Chrome OS. Now, the guy running Chrome OS is departed for Facebook, has he not? Isn't that where he went?
Oh, I think I read something. Unfortunately, I can't comment on that. I just don't know the details there.
Yeah, okay. So, but as far as you're concerned, Chrome OS is alive and kicking.
It's a part of the Chrome ecosystem that we're building, definitely.
Good.
I bookmarked a couple of sites during your talk. One was the HTML5Rocks.com. Another is HTML5Boilerplate.com, which looks like a pretty good template to use. And another one is CanIUse.com, which gives you kind of a rundown of what browsers support what HTML5 capabilities. So as you're developing, like Seth said, you develop you develop HTML5 capabilities, but then you can gracefully degrade for browsers that maybe haven't caught up yet.
No, I'm really glad you brought that up. I mean, HTML5 Boilerplate is a really fantastic resource because it not only says we can get you up on HTML5 today, it actually brings over a lot of the best practices that web developers has begin to discover for many years, things like the best way to cache resources or not to cache, the best way to compress or not to compress. And all of these things have been kind of like old wives' tales or just like dark secrets of the magic, and they're pulling it all in together into just a few different configuration files, which you can just use to bootstrap your project. So that's one thing I'm really happy to see. But I'm really glad you mentioned to hear you say gracefully degrade, because I think that's the right way to approach HTML5 development. You really want to start to deliver the best possible experience. And the way to do that, of course, is to implement and utilize all these great HTML5 features like Canvas and CSS3, 3D transforms, the file system APIs, the history management API, et cetera, et cetera. And these are going to give you essentially a native app feel. But of course you want reach, right? That's why you go to the web. So you build for the best experience, that which generates revenue and excitement and eyeballs. But then because all of these specs are written, understanding that it's a global, worldwide open spec, you can gracefully degrade and provide a subset.
Unless you're using IE6, as I'm showing here. Comparison between IE6 in pink and Chrome 10 in green.
Well, IE6.
Even Microsoft now
has
is saying,
apologized.
Yeah, we
for that.
talked about that site that says stop using IE6 from Microsoft. That must crack you up. It's actually kind of exciting, Seth. It seems like there's some real momentum building behind HTML5. And I think
finally, it's as my son Jake says, it's the kind of the Prince spaghetti sauce. Oh, it's in there. That'll solve it. HTML5 would do that with every problem that came up. We got to get on with it and do it.
Right.
Well, you can look at some of the game industry there, I think, is pushing hard on HTML5. I mean, Disney's recent acquisition of the game engine, I believe it's Rocket Pack or Rocket Engine there. Zynga is exploring HTML5. Facebook, of course, is investing in HTML5. Obviously, Google, Apple, and Microsoft all agree that it's the future. So, So we've all been agreeing it's the future, but this year things are happening. And so you're right. This is very exciting.
Seth, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Seth.
Appreciate it. Anytime. Thank you very much.
And I guess the best place to find out more about this is HTML5Rocks.com. But you heard some other great sites. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Seth Ladd from the Google, from the mothership. He is developer advocate at Google. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Seth.
Bye-bye. That's neat. Thank you, Gina, for getting that for us.
Sure.
That's great.
Sure. No, that was really fun. I like to.
More of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel encouraging that there is some momentum and things are actually happening. And I stopped using any other browser but Chrome quite a while ago. It's just so much better.
I know, and I love Firefox, but when there was a new Firefox release, it was like a big deal. You download it, the extensions wouldn't be compatible with Chrome. It just happens in the background. You just don't think about it as much. It's just got so many great features. So
they've learned.
I think that's an important point just going forward. Is more. I had lunch today with the CTO at Adobe, Kevin Lynch, and he was talking about Adobe moving over more and more to cloud stuff. And you get to that point where applications can become more fluid. This whole idea of another version does become silly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just we're always improving it, and here's an improvement, and there it is, and that's that. And you should be able to expect that that's going to be the case. It's process rather than product.
This is kind of typical in computers. I mean, I remember Tim Berners-Lee telling me, I never thought anybody would look at URLs. We didn't ever intend for URLs to be exposed. Those are not, HTTP:// is not designed for humans.
Clearly.
Yeah, obviously. And now I think, I can't remember which browser it is, but one of the browsers is getting rid of that bar entirely. I don't know if that's Chrome or Firefox, but...
The funny thing there is I keep on wishing that whole HTTP:// www was reduced to 1:, something that then we wouldn't need shorter URLs in Twitter.
You don't need to tell you don't need to tell well, that's the problem with Twitter, which is it doesn't know it's a URL because it doesn't have HTTP.
So there needs to be a shorter way to say this is a URL.
But that's just stupid Twitter, to be honest. Right, Gina? I mean, a little grep magic, and you could tell if it's a URL or not. You look for a TLD preceded by a dot. You look for slashes. You can, and maybe even you could even check to see if there's a website there and see if it has malware. Not so hard to do.
Okay, so we get Twitter to fix, not the whole internet.
Yes.
Good idea.
You don't have to fix the internet; just fix Twitter. But that's exactly what happens, and that's I'm sure why URLs got exposed in the first place. Is Mosaic and then Netscape did, and it didn't matter what Tim Berners-Lee thought; it mattered what people did, and that became how it was done. Unfortunately. Hey, let's take a break. There's a lot of news, including Android malware. Gina, any gingerbread love for your Nexus 1?
Oh yeah, I've got it.
You got it illegally. You got a ROM. You didn't get the update because I'm still looking at my Nexus S for an update. I haven't seen a thing.
Wait, the S? Oh, you're waiting for the OTA for the Nexus S? That's crazy. You still haven't gotten it? Okay, that's weird. I have other friends who have the Nexus 1 who did get it.
They got the OTA on the 1. Well, you needed it more than the X did. S did.
Yes.
I mean, the one needed. Let me just check, just because it really wouldn't be a day without checking system updates and saying seeing your system is currently up to date.
Right. Android needs to learn a little from Chrome. Update faster.
Just update it. I don't want to know.
Just update, right.
Let's take a break. We got more coming up. Also, some issues with I mentioned Android, the Google Apps Marketplace celebrating a birthday, and YouTube with a kind of an interesting acquisition that finally came through. Before we do that, though, I want to talk a little bit about Hover.com. Hover is domain name registration done properly. It's clean, it's simple, it's easy. If you use the other guys, you can't buy a domain with one click of the mouse. 50 clicks later, and you're still saying, no, I didn't want that. No, I don't want that. No, thank you. I just want to buy a friggin' domain. Go to twig.hover.com and take a look at Hover. This couldn't be simpler, cleaner, or easier to use. It's domain name registration made simple. You go there, you tell them the domain you want. A couple of clicks of the mouse later, you've got the domain. And here's the beauty of it. They don't have to do the upsell and privacy because they just build it in. Automatic whois privacy and more. And if you are moving a domain over, if you're transferring, what a great deal. It costs $10 to transfer, but you get an additional year on your domain name. So they extend the domain name for a year, and you get the transfer. So I think that's pretty exceptional. Use Hover Domain Management to set up an email address, forward email, redirect domains to other websites, create URL extensions, set privacy controls, all with fewer clicks and without them trying to sell you something you don't want or you don't need. And if you're transferring a bunch of sites, they've got a great one fee, $25 fee for transferring all your sites from 1 to 1,000 right over to hover.com. Do us a favor and give it a try. And please use the Twig offer code when you do, so we get credit for it. Those other guys at TWiT, they don't need the money. Twig, I'm competing against myself. Twig.hover.com, twig.hover.com.
Please do it, folks.
Do it for Jeff and Gina. Use the offer code Twig. Well, it has come to my attention that some of you, not remembering the offer codes, just use TWiT, because it all goes to the same place, right?
Bad fans, bad
fan. It doesn't cost us anything because we don't do cost per click or anything like that. But it does mean that people that our advertisers don't know where they're getting the referrals from, and we want to make sure that they know people listen to this fine show and support it. So twig.hover.com. Now we got 12 minutes till Marissa Meyer shows up.
No, I'm okay. We can go to like 5:15 or something. No.
I don't want to be the guy who made you late.
I just didn't, Leo. I know you now.
Yes, you've learned.
If I didn't say this, we would start at 6.
You're absolutely right.
I know you and I love you,
Leo. But yeah, we have to do that thing where you set the alarm 15 minutes early to try to trick yourself into.
That doesn't work because I know I'm tricking myself.
You run on a California clock.
Yeah, that's true. Gina, I don't know what your problem is.
On timing.
He's New York time. Come on. I made him.
I'm always late. So in New York, I was always late. In California, I kind of sort of make it on time because it's 3 hours later.
I showed up. We had a doctor's appointment at 8:30. Showed up at 8:42. They said, yeah, that's fine. We expect that. It's California. Hey, don't be late for our event at South by Southwest. We're going to be down there this weekend. Everybody, I look forward to this. This is my second time. I never went before. I know, Gina, you've been since almost the beginning, and everybody always said, you got to go to South by, and now I understand why. It's just a freaking party.
It is. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know what I was thinking considering not going. I'm really excited about this weekend.
Well, when you get there, make sure you get our Get Glue sticker. I think if you watch a TWiT show and you use Get Glue now, you'll get our limited edition TWiT South by Southwest sticker from Get Glue. And then come to Momo's Sunday. This Sunday, we're going to be there from 1 till... we start with 1 with the Tech Guy show, and we will continue with TWiT 5 o'clock. You guys will be there 5 to 7 p.m. We're doing a little meetup afterwards. And we have 1,000 of these special edition TWiT stickers. I think we're going to do these from now on for every event. So it says TWiT at SXSW 2011, and the 0 is the state of Texas. And,
I need that.
Yeah. My thinking, we'll have regular TWiT stickers too, but I'm thinking... Don't you want to collect sets of stickers from different, events? So I thought that'd be kind of fun. You can find out more by going to our blog, inside.twit.tv. That's where the schedule will be. And we also have a Plancast account, plancast.com/p/3x 3x2s. I might as well just say http:// for that one. Holy cow. /p/3x2s. Is that like TWiT? I don't even know what that one is. I guess we created a TWiT Plancast account. So Chrome 10, we already mentioned that. That's out. Everybody likes it. No negatives, right? No complaints.
Oh, working for me.
Faster, sandboxed.
I love the sandboxing. Good. That's key. That's critical. I mean, that's really critical. Instant mobile previews are now available on Android and iOS.
Yeah, these are really cool. So there's a little magnifying glass next to search results on google.com on your phone, and you tap on it, and you can just sort of swipe through screenshots of the site, which is neat. I'm not sure. I generally know what I'm looking for, but in the case where you're not sure, really neat little feature. So it's a little magnifying glass in the bottom right of the search result.
You don't really think of these things as being not only needed, but even working on a phone.
Yeah, it's true. You know, for phones that have mobile versions that are crappy, or for sites that take a long time to load, an instant preview via Google, which is fast, is a nice way to just check to see, does this look like what I'm looking for?
Oh, I guess, yeah. You're right. And they cache those locally, not locally, on the Goog.
Right.
Right. So you don't. There's no load time or anything, or less load time.
Right. Well, I've only tried it on Wi-Fi, so I'm not sure how it does on 3G, but it was pretty fast when I did try it.
That's cool. iOS 4.3 came out today too, by the way, if you're an iPhone user. Yeah. Jeff, you've gone Android, right?
No, I have both.
Are you going to get?
I have my Galaxy Tab, and I have my iPhone.
And you are going to get a iPad 2, right?
I don't know.
Friday night.
I don't know. He says. I don't know.
No, my wife looked at me and basically, what are you saying?
Oh, come on, Jeff. All right, let's see. I think I have it fired up here. Let's see. Oh yeah, look, there's a little magnifying glass. So that wasn't an update in the browser. That's just built into Google. And then I click it, and then look at this. These are the little thumbnails in a page. Oh,
inside
that is
the page.
Sweet.
Which is nice,
That's
right?
what's nice.
That is sweet.
Yeah, so look, there is a little load time there.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's nice to see, like, oh, is this the site I was, looking for?
And these are.
So if you go back, you just go back to your search result.
Oh, I don't know. That's a good question.
Oh, there's no back button on that.
There it is. There it is. Yeah, this is an iPhone. We don't have
you had that kind of UI within, let's say, Twitter, where you could, see a photo more easily, or.
So this is what it's doing is it's pulling thumbnails up from, and it cached them, by the way, thumbnails up from the whole page. So this is like a different kind of search page with the thumbnails, and it does show the search results below it. So that's kind of, I think that's kind of a swell feature.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Pretty good. Wow, I didn't even know that. I have to listen to this show more often. One of these days, I'm going to listen to this show, and I'll learn a thing or two. Google has discovered 21 malware apps on the Android marketplace, yanked them, but did something that we didn't know. Well, I think they did it once before. Still, it's kind of always a little bit of a shock when they do this. They use the kill switch.
Right.
What's
and
that?
This is the kill switch. The kill switch is for they remotely uninstalled the apps from phones that they knew it was installed on, and they know what's installed on your phone when you do it through the market. So these apps were attempting to root the phone and get personal information about the phone, the IMEI number, which is unique to each handset, and some other information. As soon as Google knew about it, they said within minutes they used this remote application removal feature, which basically just reaches down on your phone and uninstalls it.
See, I had chess and super sex positions, so screaming sexy Japanese girls, falling dodgeball. You know what? They're covering the waterfront because they got also scientific calculator, advanced currency converter, and a game called Pew Pew.
This is just the worst PR for Android ever.
Terrible.
I mean, it just makes everyone who's ever been annoyed with the iTunes Store's policies go, see, this is why they do it. I'm malware. And it makes you just feel like you're back in the heyday of Windows when malware was this huge problem, viruses and Trojans. I just feel like because Google has the market, there should be, there needs to be better sort of reviewing, testing, a detection of this kind of stuff before things get published.
Is that
As a developer, I wouldn't mind having to run my app through a series or like an automated test suite, on the Android market side and get approved.
Well, one of you had that idea before, where you have a higher level marketplace.
Yeah, you don't have to eliminate open, but you just say and maybe you could charge for it. I'm surprised somebody
or maybe that's the value that Amazon should add to the marketplace.
Why doesn't Amazon or Secunia or somebody say, hey, here's the secure marketplace? I'll know why. Because you cannot, and no matter what Apple tells anybody, you cannot do 100%.
You can't always. You can't always detect the exploits, right? But you can sometimes. I mean, the Amazon App Store for Android does have a review process. I submitted my app, and it took them a couple weeks to approve it.
Really?
Yeah. It hasn't launched yet. Another interesting model is Mozilla. So I develop Firefox extensions, and when you upload your extension to the Mozilla add-on site, it just goes through all the code, which is just XML and JavaScript, and checks for external URLs. And then must have some sort of database which flags, certain URLs which are, good or bad or malware. So it had these checks, and it'll say, we found this URL, we're not sure about it. Like it'll give you the green thumbs up and the red stop. The Android market could do something like, passes the extra super clean malware check certification stamp. You know what I mean? That maybe as a developer you pay for. There are other ways to do it. You don't have to sacrifice open, I think, to do these extra checks and have maybe a higher level, the elite class of apps that have been verified somehow.
Google might make a case that the system does work because they did find these 21. They did use the kill switch. So, I mean, how long were they in the market before they were discovered? Not that long. A week, 2 weeks?
That's the question. I mean, the question really is how many installations were there and how much information got leaked.
I would hope that Google would let that information come out.
Question. So if you go through Amazon is not going to have a kill switch.
No, but Google still will. So presumably Amazon could then say to Google, please kill these. Google, by the way, I was told by our chat room, somebody got killed, and Google sends out an email. You get an email saying, we deleted an app from your phone because it was malicious. I can't imagine anybody getting upset about that.
No.
No,
I mean, believe me, we'll hear somebody say, well, Google could be evil with that. They could misuse it and all that. But if Google did, then they're hurting their own business, for God's sakes.
And every phone has this. I mean, iOS has a kill switch. We know it.
I'm glad they have it.
They need it.
I'm fine with it. What you don't want is that you don't want them to use it evilly, and that's really the issue.
Right.
That if they, they kill a book or something, that's a problem.
So in the on the Google mobile blog, they say Tuesday that we were made aware of this. Within minutes becoming aware, we removed the applications. They did take advantage of a flaw in the current 2.2.2 or higher versions of Android, which is a little. Doesn't say they've got the update. It doesn't say how long they were out there. But or who told them? Does that mean that there are some security people watching? It wouldn't be such a hard thing to look at what kind of stuff your phone is doing online.
I just wish that they caught this stuff before it went down to people's phones.
Right. That's what we want.
Yeah.
Android is #1 in the U.S. Smartphone market share now, outpacing RIM. So they beat iOS a little while ago. Now they've beat RIM. There's nobody else. They are #1, according to Nielsen. Android has 29% market share. Oh, are these your numbers?
No.
Good.
I have you trained well, Leo. I'm glad for this.
It's a number.
Anything numeric we worry about.
Yeah, Jeff has a trademark on all numbers.
I'm going to put a charge on your chair, on your ball.
Actually, Apple and RIM are tied with 27. Now, that is consumer market share. Nielsen also notes that when you look at it from a different angle, manufacturer market share, because, of course, Apple makes one phone. BlackBerry makes a number of phones. Google doesn't make any phones, but there are a lot of people making phones using the Google OS. When it comes to handset manufacturers, Apple and RIM are clearly ahead. The next biggest manufacturer, Apple and RIM have 27%. The next biggest manufacturer is HTC, 12% Android, 7% Windows Mobile. And Windows Phone 7. So 12% if you talk about the biggest manufacturer, which is HTC. Still, I mean, that was the same argument people made about PC market share versus Mac market share, but there's only one Apple. Well, still, they're all running Windows.
Right.
Google has released an anti-fragmentation kit to respond to complaints that the Android market is fragmented. This is programmer Gina at the ready. What is this? It says it's a static library that allows access to the Honeycomb Fragments API.
Okay, so when you develop an Android app, you set a version at which the app is, the baseline version that it's compatible with, right? So my app is compatible 1.6 and above. But what you don't want to do is you don't want that to mean that you don't have access to only the features that are available to later versions. So I have not tried out this static library, but it sounds like this library lets developers take advantage of the stuff available in Honeycomb, that fragments library that lets you create panels that arrange themselves in different ways on a larger screen in their app without sacrificing earlier compatibility with earlier versions.
I always wondered why they didn't do that, because it seems like it'd be possible to write an app that automatically kind of senses because unfortunately there's a big variety in screen resolution in real estate, but
right.
it would sense that and kind of rearrange itself elastically.
Right.
Isn't that what Adobe Air does?
Yes, right.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's what a web browser does. It lays out a page depending on the viewport size.
Right.
And so the new static library allows access to Honeycomb Fragments API, which lets developers produce resolution-independent apps on any device running Android 1.6 or better. So from diminutive Pago phones to 10.1 tablets. So this is just a way to lay out your app so that it shows up well, and no matter what the screen size is.
Easy fix. And in response to Steve Jobs last week saying there's only 100 Honeycomb apps. And I thought that was that's kind of not fair, because yes, there's 100 apps written for that size tablet, but there's hundreds of thousands of apps written for all Android. And have you looked at, I remember when I had the Galaxy Tab, even apps that weren't written for a 7-inch screen for the most part looked fine.
They look great. They look wonderful. Yeah, I really hardly ever notice.
Yeah, if you use layouts well in your app, it would just size up to the screen. And that's just sort of the nature of the layout, the way that you do layouts in Android. My app worked fine on Honeycomb. I mean, there's a lot of extra, white space. When I do rewrite it for Honeycomb, I'll take advantage of the fact that I could fit another panel, but it totally works. I mean, look, Steve has a point. When the first iPad came out, one of my arguments against buying it was none of the apps have been written for this large screen yet.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's a reasonable argument to make.
Well, it's a little different in iOS, because on iOS, what happens if you have an iPhone app, it's tiny and you could double it. It doesn't. Right. There is no resizing at all.
Right.
And so Android handles it, I think, better and differently. So there's a big difference between there aren't native iPad apps and there aren't native tablet apps for Android. That's a big difference.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the fact that the way that Android layout views in Android just expands naturally because handsets have different size screens to begin with, unlike the iPhone, that things did expand to fill Honeycomb well. So Steve's argument is not as strong as maybe the initial argument with the iPad. Right. But I do hope to see a lot of really good apps kind of expand to fill that Honeycomb screen. But things like Angry Birds are fantastic on Honeycomb, right? You're not going to change anything. You're not going to add panels or anything,
And do you get glitches with the graphics, like jaggies, artifacting or aliasing, or the fonts, or do fonts scale nicely and graphics scale nicely? Do you have those issues?
From what I saw on the emulator and the 10 or 20 minutes I spent with the app itself, everything looks great. It scales up. So Android gives you, so when you create your graphics for Android, there's a low,
SVG,
medium, and high resolution. You provide assets for high resolution and smaller resolution.
I see. So they are bitmapped assets.
Yeah.
Although I imagine there's also vector graphics. That's where SVG would be great. And I imagine the fonts. Do the fonts scale in To-Do-Text? Do the fonts scale so that they don't look jaggy, do they?
No, not at all. They look
great. They're anti-aliased. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a little misleading to say there's only 100 apps. There's hundreds of thousands of apps that work fine and look fine, but there's only 100 apps that are written specifically for that screen size. But I don't expect you to see a lot of apps written for that screen size, because then that leaves out the rest of the market.
Turn it back around. That's the limitation of iOS, is that Steve does make you rewrite them. Or write these complicated double things, and on Android it just works. Not to sound like a fanboy, but
well, I think it's important.
Love that.
People yell at me because I was critical of Steve's 3 big lies at the event, and look, if he lies, he lies. It doesn't mean I'm a Google fanboy. When Google lies, I get upset too. If somebody's lying to you, and it is not our job to represent companies. We are here to represent end users. If a company's lying to you, you deserve to know that. Oh, he's attacking he's attacking my team. I wish people would stop thinking of it as a team sport. It's not team.
Me too. Me too.
And if you're on a team, you're on the human team, not the
you're
the
on
Apple
the
team or the Google team.
You're on the consumer
Yeah.
team. You're not on the big company team.
Right.
You're on the consumer team.
Remember which team you are on, friends. I
We're
don't
on
forget.
Team Leo.
Well, no, you're not on my team either. I don't want a team.
Team Twig?
Yeah, Twig is good. Team Twig, I'll go for that. New Google Maps navigation, the beta version, will route traffic, something that GPSs have done for some time. But, hey, it's free.
I didn't even know that. I've never used GPS. I've only used Google.
A lot of GPSs will do this, and I think that's a nice feature. I've seen it on some of the GPS software on iOS as well. Where do they get their traffic information? Where does Google get that information? That's what I'm wondering about.
There's basically a monopoly now. Metro traffic and shadow
really?
traffic.
They own
the same.
Same people who do it for radio are doing it for computers.
And I actually think that the navigation app does send statistics to Google if you let it about your
Well, that's what
movement.
it should do.
Yeah. I think it's gathering its own data as well, if I'm not mistaken, with your
That's where it's
permission.
always been best to go. Yeah,
I have
your phone should be saying-
your phone. It knows where you are, how fast you're moving. It doesn't need anything else. You're in a 65 miles an hour zone going 3 miles an hour. Send that back. That's the information we want, and it's up to date. You can date stamp it, and that's. I mean, I had a little Dash GPS. They went out of business, but it was really a cool idea. All the Dash users were sending information back to Dash, and saying, so you had a very up to date traffic information. The problem is nobody bought it, so there was 4 of us.
In 1995, I tried to convince Metro Traffic and Shadow to do a very manual version of this, where it would be a data for data marketplace that you'd call in and report. For every time you called in to report a problem, you get a free report back when you needed it.
Oh, great! They didn't do it.
No.
That's because you're an entrepreneurial journalist. Marissa Meyer, I think Marissa should send you a glimpse. You know what? That GLYMPSE app, I love that app on Android and iOS where it sends you you've never seen this?
No.
I'm making my
GL what now?
I'll make it my tool.
LGTT what?
I'll make it my tool.
Okay,
I was going to do I was going to to do text because Gina, I've got it working I've done it before, so it's really not fair to do it again. But I've got it working so sweetly. You're right. I don't use the text file in Geek Tool now. I just use the shell command, and it works so. Oh, I can't pull it up. It works so. I got my thing down, but it works so nicely. And I use Quicksilver to automatically with a few keystrokes send it new to do stuff. It's always on my desktop of all my computers.
You are my target user, Leo.
It's awesome.
Can't tell you how happy this makes me.
Oh, well, you did a great job, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to you for making it.
Yay!
It really,
so happy to hear that.
It's
Thank
really
you.
neat. So for those who don't know, todotext.com, TODOTXT.com. It's a little geeky.
It is. It's a lot geeky.
It's basically command line to-do lists.
Yeah, that's why we want to do a GUI. That's why I want to make a Chrome web app.
Well, there's a great Android app. So that makes the Android app, you can do everything you would do with a normal to-do thing. But because it makes it, because it makes a text file, which you would then put in Dropbox, it's so great. And you can always find apps that interact with text files. So it's not like Quicksilver appending to the file makes it so easy to add to my to-do list, and it's always on my desktop. I just love that.
Awesome.
I don't know how I just did an ad for you.
I know. I'll send you the checks in the mail. Checks in the mail.
It's in the Android marketplace. It's guaranteed malware free. To do what do you call it in the Android marketplace?
To do.text touch.
To do.text touch.
I know it's a terrible name. I'm not good at names. It's clearly
you
engineer
do need
name.
branding help, Gina.
But just so you know, I'm not making it up. There it is, right there, right on the front page of my Nexus S. And there's
What do
my
you have to
to-do
do,
list.
Leo?
Lots of stuff.
Let's see here.
Make a
Nice.
dentist
I like
appointment.
that. It can tell you're using it like next actions.
I got prioritization.
Hey, Amber is going to call you.
Yeah. Amber's going to
Doctor,
get a
you're
call.
finally going to get paid. Checks in the mail.
Actually, that's Dr. Mom, who for my wife's birthday in September made her a necklace, which I still owe her $60 for. Sometimes just putting it on the to-do list doesn't mean it gets done.
Yes.
That's my problem.
No, but you know what? That list was a lot longer yesterday, so it does work. A couple of acquisitions from Google, and we're going to get to your tips, tools, and numbers. Google bought a British price comparison site called BeatThatQuote.com. Yes, it's time to play BeatThatQuote.com. I never heard of them, but they are British. Oh. $61 million. 167 pounds or something. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 37 pounds. They're going to use that technology to provide new ways for consumers to find the right financial products. So it's price quotes on money. They also bought, and we this was rumored for a long time. YouTube bought Next New Networks, which is a big YouTube content production company with something like 60 producers, including the Gregory brothers and Too Hot for Words or whatever that thing is called. And interesting play for YouTube to become a content creator.
Well, that's the issue. So I talked to Fred Seibert, who founded Next New Networks, as a friend before this, when he had to wink at me a lot. But I said my concern is that, if Google finds itself in the content business, it's in huge channel conflict. It just can't do that. And the wink is, and the press release made this too, they're going to take the shows that Next New Networks owns and put some kind of wall around them or do something with them. That's not why they bought it. They bought it for a platform to create better content. And I think
know-how, or is there some technology as well?
Technology, but also I think more systems and structure to do that. I'm not sure exactly what that is. But that's in YouTube's interest to have better content. YouTube, as you know, a week ago, I think we talked about this last week, is paying hundreds of producers 6 figures a year and thousands of producers 5 figures a year.
Wow.
In compensation, so people can start to make a living at this. And the more of that there is, the more things we watch instead of big old network TV, the better it is for YouTube and Google. So that's what's in their interest. But owning shows and competing with their own distribution platform would bring up all kinds of problems with people saying that it's the discussions we've had. Is YouTube favoring its own stuff? And, things like that. So I think that they can't. I hope the case is. I really hope the case is that they find a way to slough off that original content and not own it.
Yeah. It's interesting they brought it for workflow. That's what Dvorak always told me. He said, work on your workflow. That's what people buy. They don't care about the content. They want the workflow. It's my bad impression.
I have no idea what that means, but yes, John. Yes, John.
Yes, John. I didn't even anyway. What did they get? They got like 30 million, something like that, 50 million?
I heard something like 50. I think there was 26 into it.
That's good.
It was a problem of trying to find, ad sales. Ad sales are tough. That's what they were doing.
Yes, it is. The newest Google website, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready for official royal wedding 2011.org?
Are we sick of it yet? It hasn't happened. Are we sick of it yet?
This is Google. They're using Google for this.
I mean, I actually felt grateful to Sheen for reducing the royal wedding media coverage for a little bit there for a while.
Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet, baby. So it's Google App Engine that they're using for I guess they wanted bandwidth galore. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Not Squarespace, not WordPress, not TypePad. I'm sure they all would love to have had that big old website.
Hey.
Hey, Charlie Sheen couldn't kill Ustream. That's pretty good for them. Ustream.tv, 200,000 views. Did you see Charlie's last broadcast last night?
He's sick. The man is sick, and it's getting worse and worse. We're watching him destroy himself in public.
It's not nice to watch that.
But
nor
Jake. Update from Jake. He just said that Sheen said he needs help.
Oh, good.
Where did he say that, Jake? Some tabloid. Yeah, well,
yeah.
True. Yeah, I know.
And not just a social media intern to help him?
I think he needs help doing his Twitter.
Did you see how many applications he got?
How many?
He got like 42,000 applications for the social media, for the worst job.
If he's going to put 18 porn stars up in a house, might as well.
70,000 applications.
I want to be in the Charlie Sheen new media consultant house. Is it next to the porn star house? Warner Brothers starts renting movies on Facebook.
Big deal.
Wow, it's The Dark Knight. You have to actually go to the Dark Knight page on Facebook to rent the movie. It's a very interesting nexus. And it's not in here, but Facebook is now doing comments as well. And I'm very tempted to use their comment engine. I saw that TechCrunch is thrilled with it. I guess we talked about that last week.
Yeah, we did. Yep.
I can never remember.
There was controversy there. I wrote a piece on my blog. I took a snippet out of the book about the argument about anonymity and how we ought to have more than one identity. And I side with Zuckerberg that we have one identity.
Facebook.
And that's the Facebook way. Well,
you side with Zuckerberg?
not necessarily Facebook's, but that we have our own.
I like the new Google profiles. I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know how I get it or don't get it, but I like it. We talked about the new Google profile search, and now we realize where that came from. It came from the new Google profiles.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I haven't updated mine.
Yeah,
in ages.
profiles.google.com. I don't know. Sometimes I get the old one. Sometimes I get the new one. I don't know if something with my cookies or whatever.
Yeah, it's a real nice update. More
Yeah,
bits of
here it is.
information. They took away the Flickr integration, which bummed me out because that made me happy because I use Flickr and I thought it was a nice use of another company's API. But that said, the layout is really nice. More questions, more links.
But don't you think it's a little bit Facebooky? For instance, here, when you change your information, you can put location, birthday, relationship, and gender under your picture.
Yes, it is definitely.
That's Facebooky, isn't it?
It is very Facebooky.
Yeah.
And I had a long rant about those drop downs.
Yeah.
Which I'll
If
spare you
Larry
all, but-
Page creates a page for his dog, then we know that it's a war.
Right. Buzz is still on here, although you can finally turn off the Buzz tab. Let's not show my personal information. You can choose the pictures here finally, a little bit, at least a little bit more granularly than you could before. You can manage those photos a little bit better. I like it. I think it's a nice looking profile. See, that's kind of what it made me think of this when you talked about Mark saying you should have one place on the web. I don't know if you should have only one, but you should at least
No, he
have
wasn't
something like
saying that.
this.
He was saying that you don't separate your work identity from your home identity, from your this identity, from that identity, because they're going to come into conflict.
Right.
Better off to have one identity and be yourself.
Be yourself. This is who I am.
Yep.
I'm CEO, bitch. And he lives that, actually. That's for those who think I was unnecessarily profane, that actually was his business card. I don't know if it still is. Gizmo 5, just an update, shutting down April 3rd. You can transfer your credits to Google Voice. Google bought Gizmo and finally has dropped the other shoe on their head. I think we should get to our tool number and tip. I know you've got to get going to see
I
Marissa
appreciate that.
and Tim.
Good.
And we'll find out more about Kevin Lynch and your lunch with him and Marissa
That's
and Tim
fine.
next week. How about that?
That's good.
Gina Trapani, your tool or tip of the week.
Gmail added a new feature in the labs called Smart Labels. So I think this is kind of like a way to jumpstart folks who aren't using filters and labels very much. If you enable Smart Labels in your Gmail account, the labs link, it automatically creates categories for bulk there's actually 3 labels: bulk, notification, and forum messages. And these are just filters that look to see, is this just a newsletter or subscription? Is this a mailing list subscription? Kind of promotional email, and filters them into those labels automatically.
I like that. I needed that.
Yeah, it's nice. I had many of these filters. I kind of created them by hand that serve a similar purpose, but this is really for folks who hadn't had a chance to do that or wanted to just kind of get a kickstart on their labels. And once you enable Smart Labels, you can go into your filter settings and you can tweak them. You can add addresses and other criteria to them. You'll see the Smart Label filter listed there.
They've changed the UI, it looks like. I now have a gear for the options. So I was looking for the labs link, and you have to click the gear now in the upper right-hand corner of Gmail, and then you can get to the settings, and then you can get to the labs.
And then you can go to labs, right? And they haven't updated that in Google Apps yet, so I hadn't seen that yet.
Yeah, that's
But
interesting.
yeah,
It's cleaner. That's how they should have. It should be that way.
Yep, and it's Smart Labels, one word, like WikiWord.
So I'll go way down because it's alphabetic.
There's so many labs features, it's crazy.
Well, and these are all my enabled ones, so I have to go down to the disabled
Jeez.
ones. Smart mute, smart labels. Fan-freaking-tastic. Turning on now. Saving changes now. Good tip. Thank you, Gina.
Yeah, sure.
Jeff, your number of the week.
Well, the obvious one is Fortune's most admired companies, Apple, Google, 1, 2. But I'll do another number, which is 2,127, which is Henry Blodgett's profit last year for Business Insider.
What? How much?
What's $2,127.
That's all?
But he made a profit, and as he said, it's better than not having $2,127.
Made a lot more jiggering the stock market.
And yeah, you said it, I didn't.
I probably shouldn't say that. I don't know
Henry-
anything. I know nothing.
No, what Henry did that I liked is he went ahead and released his financials, put them right out there. So he made about $4.5 million in ad revenue. And do you think that's high or low for what he has?
$4.5 million is about right, I would say.
Yeah, I'd say
That's right where we are. We're right in that area.
yeah, and he's investing in the business, and you're just as transparent as Henry is. You're putting that out.
I think that's
assuming you're
great. So
Yeah, I
he
think it is.
reinvests. So it wasn't that he didn't have revenue. It's just that he didn't take
he had
anything
revenue.
out of it.
He he invested back in the business.
Yeah. That's somebody told me that. You should always tell people you made $5 profit.
Yeah.
Because your salary is part of the cost.
Right. Well, you're also telling the IRS that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always, at the end of the year, I got $5 left in my pocket. Won't mention the savings account in Zurich. I guess it's okay to say that because I see that he still is banned from the securities industry.
Yes, he is.
He's found
and he's
nice
open
niche.
about that. Somebody asked him about it. He'll talk about it.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
And my tool of the week, I already forgot it.
Gina reminded me. It was
GTGL something.
Glimpse. Oh, thank you. So we're on our way to South by Southwest, right? And John Slanina is driving the van. He left on Monday. So how do we know where John is? Well, he glimpsed us. This is available on Android and iPhone. When I was late for our Google appointment, I sent a text message to Karen Wickery that linked to this map. Now she can see where I am in real time. In fact, let me zoom in.
She probably could know it anyway, Leo, because she's at Google.
Well, she probably knows everything, doesn't she? But let me...
She's tracking you anyway. But this is a cool way to share.
It looks like by the way, for one thing, we know that he took a tour of Carlsbad Caverns. There's a little detour on there. But you see that? See that? It's so funny. You see that in real time. So if you're in real time, you can actually see how fast he's going. There's the detour. He's coming back now.
That's going to freak people out.
He's going 54 miles an hour. And so he's coming back on the Carlsbad Cavern Highway. That's so funny. So this is in real time. You said how long the glimpse will last for. If you're late a lot, as I am, as you know, you just send people a glimpse. It's a text message. Then they have a live real-time map that will tell them exactly where you are at all times.
Now what you want is tie that with Street View so you can see what he's seeing.
Oh, wouldn't that be cool? This is such a neat product. I just think it's so cool.
There is something mesmerizing about it, isn't there?
I first discovered it when Robert Scoble was late for TWiT, and he sent me a glimpse, and we watched him arrive. I watched him pull up out front.
That's so Scoble.
I guess that's so Scoble. GLYMPSE.com. We'll be in Austin this weekend.
Can't believe it.
Can't wait. Jeff and Gina and we'll see you Sunday afternoon about 5 o'clock on the stage at Momo's. Please come early.
For the week.
We'll be there. We can be there at 4:30.
Well, I'm not talking about you. You guys get with it whenever you want. But if you're going to be in the audience, there's only room for 500. And I have a feeling we'll fill up fast. So come early. Doors open at 1.
That's going to be some party.
Yeah! Yeehaw! Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on Twig.